following the Mega Evolution update in Pokemon Go, which has made Mega Evolution essentially free in the game. If you've already Mega Evolved the Pokemon, then you have free periods to evolve it, and the cost to Mega Evolve gets greatly reduced as you progress in these Mega levels. If you're curious about this information, you're not too familiar with it yet, link up above and in the description to a video that breaks that down. Well, with this change, the Silph Factions is looking at possibly adding Mega Evolution to their Master League rotations. So I figured it'd be kind of interesting to do some content to discuss what Mega Evolutions would be good in a theoretical Master League type situations should Megas get, added tomorrow. I'm not involved with Silph Factions, so I don't know if they're for sure going to be adding them or not. And, as far as GBL is concerned, while you can't use Megas in GBL, you can use them in PvP. And with the change in Mega Evolution, I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw like a Mega Evolution Cup kind of format for Master League in the future. The possibility is there because the accessibility has increased so much. So without further ado, let's discuss the top 5 Megas for Master League PvP should they get added to Master League PvP. Top 5 list because there's only 5 that are really worth talking about right now. So starting out with number 1 on this list, we have Mega freaking Gyarados. Now normally top 5 lists, go from the bottom up. I'm going top down because Mega Gyarados is such a dominant threat. It's so powerful looking for Master League PvP that the other picks on this list kind of respond to it in a way. And the context of the other picks, it's all pretty much in context to just how crazy dominant Mega Gyarados is. Like a lot of the Mega Evolutions end up having like roughly 7,000 stat product. This thing has over 9,000 stat product. It's got more stat product than Lugia does, which Lugia is supposed to be the big tank of the Master League. Well, here's something tankier. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily tankier, but here's something with even more stat product. It's Mega freaking Gyarados. The best way I can describe to it in lay terms is, have you ever looked at like PvPoke simulations? And you're kind of scratching your chin going like, why isn't normal Gyarados like better in open Master League PvP? Why do we see a lot of, Gyarados in the Premier Cup, but not so much in open? And the problem within open is that it's just not big enough. It doesn't have enough stats. It doesn't have enough presence in the open Master League meta to really be a threat. When it comes to Mega Gyarados, well, the Mega stats, the Mega Evolution, all the stat gain it gets from that kind of solves that issue in a really dramatic way. And what you have here is a Dragon Breath user that's not weak to Dragon attacks itself with a early activation charge move in Aqua Tail. So basically think Palkia, but it's not weak to Dragon type attacks. And then it also has Crunch. Not just Crunch, but same type attack bonus Crunch to debuff opponents and deal even more damage. That's another thing to note with this Mega Gyarados as well that might kind of slide under the radar, is that the Mega Evolution trades its flying subtype for a dark subtype. And in the context of the Master League in the current meta as well, being a dark subtype more often than not, provides more benefits than it gives you negatives compared to the flying subtype. We're no longer weak to rock type attacks. We're no longer double weak to electric type attacks. All of that plays into our favor. The only real weakness that we gain from this is going to be the fairy type weakness. Like we gain fighting type weakness, but Machamp in the Mega Master meta? I don't think so, right? So we do get a fairy type weakness, but as a Dragon Breath user, our matchup against fairy types was already kind of tenuous to begin with. But I guess that's another thing to add too about Mega freaking Gyarados here and its 9,000 stat product. Its matchup against Togekiss isn't even all that bad. If you go in the Zero Shield and it doesn't throw a charge move right away, your Aqua Tail damage does put it like deep into the red, where it's kind of hard to say that Togekiss is really like a true counter to Gyarados. And if Gyarados were to be packing Hydro Pump, it could flip that fight too. Not exactly that it would want to carry Hydro Pump, but I guess it is something to think about if you want to do a little sneak attack on them Togekisses. And then when it comes to Zacian, Zacian doesn't have the most comfortable time either because those Aqua Tails do hurt a lot. So if it debuffs itself, throwing, like a close combat or a wild charge to try to take you out sooner rather than later, then it could put itself in a really vulnerable position because of the debuffs combined with your big neutral Aqua Tail attack. To be perfectly honest, if Silph is considering adding Megas to their Mega format there, they might want to think about maybe putting an embargo on Gyarados here because it's so ridiculously dominant that I can't imagine that people would really want to use other Megas other than Gyarados like 9 times out of 10. It's just that crazy. And if you're curious about Dialga, yeah, of course this thing beats Dialga, like duh. And if all that wasn't enough, like a little icing on the cake, is that if the meta shapes up in a way that tries to counter, Gyarados being a Dragon Breath user, it also has Waterfall too. So it can flip the script on its opponents, change it into sport mode with the Waterfall. So very versatile creature, basically does Kyogre's job, but better, or it does a Dragon Breath user's job, but better. This thing is absolutely insane. And I don't have any Gyarados Mega Energy, so I gotta work on that. I boycotted the Megas for too long. Now with Gyarados out of the way, the next 3 in this top 5 list, I'd have to say are kind of on equal footing depending on what you value more out of these Pokemon. You could say one's higher than the other, but my number 2, I'm going with Mega Charizard Y. A big thing that Mega Charizard Y has going for it, and what I think puts it above the other options on this list, is that it does have the opportunity to take on Mega Gyarados in the 2-shield situation, and it's a Dragon Breath user, not weak to Dragon Breath, and it's a fire type, so it also resists Charm, which works out for it. It can beat Togekiss in the 2-shield situation even, just going straight Blast Burn, not even baiting with the Dragon Claw. So yeah, just to clarify, yes, this is Mega Charizard Y, not Mega Charizard X. Mega Charizard X is a Dragon-type Pokemon, which means that it is not a Dragon Breath user that is not weak to Dragon Breath. It is quite weak to Dragon Breath, which is why Mega Charizard Y, even though it doesn't get the bonus to its Dragon-type attacks, is the preferred option here. And I'm also not certain, but I think this thing has a little bit more stats too. So that also plays into it as well. Now, all this all sounds really impressive. Like on paper, you're like, man, that sounds like it should be better than Mega Gyarados. I mean, if it can beat Mega Gyarados in the 2-shield, then why isn't this guy number 1? And that's just because it doesn't quite have the stats to compete with Mega Gyarados, like all things considered. And I'd say overall the ball is pretty much in Mega Gyarados' court. This thing cannot begin to tolerate an Aqua Tail, for instance, so that's also part of it. But yeah, Mega Charizard Y is only clocking in with like 7,400 stat product compared to Mega Gyarados' 9,000 stat product. So when it comes to being a versatile, kind of tricky Pokemon, Gyarados has a lot more leeway compared to Mega Charizard Y. To add to that, Mega Charizard Y also has the double weakness to rock type attacks, which isn't exactly fantastic either. Not a good look. One other thing that I'd like to note about Mega Charizard Y that works in its favor is that a lot of simulations, a lot of the battles I looked at were in the even Steven, even energy PV poke type situations. This thing's got Blast Burn to work with. So if it does farm something down, works up a little bit of an energy lead going into its next opponent, things might play out a little bit differently than what you see in PV poke because you're going to be that much closer to a big Blast Burn. So that's also something to consider with Mega Charizard Y as well. I'd say all things considered, Mega Gyarados is on top. It's so on top that it's not even funny. But I don't think Mega Charizard Y is that terrible of a consideration. It's pretty versatile, and if it does get a bit of an energy lead or a shield advantage, I think that its wins are a little bit more impressive than what Mega Gyarados can do. But when it comes to more even situations, Mega Gyarados is like way, way on top. It's kind of disgusting how good Mega Gyarados is. Then for number 3 on this list, we have Mega Gengar. Do you see Gengar in Master League PvP? Of course not. It's too weak. It's not nearly tanky enough. But these Mega stats does allow Mega Gengar to do the Gengar thing, but at the Master League level, right? So Gengar, what does it have going on? Well, the first 2 Pokemon are Dragon Breath users, so fast damage. This thing's got Shadow Claw, so good damage with high energy gains. It's got Shadow Punch for a good bait move. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Mega Gengar can straight Shadow Punch down Dialga in some situations. So that's a pretty tough Shadow Punch going on right there. To add to that, we also got the big Shadow Ball, and then we've got the mystery box that is Gengar. Is it Shadow Ball? Is it Sludge Bomb? Is it Focus Blast? Is it actually using Shadow Punch, or is it Double Nuke? By the time you find out, it could be a little bit too late. So I think that makes, Gengar a really tricky option to deal with. A big problem that Gengar has is that, Dark type Pokemon. And who's a Dark type Pokemon? Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados is a Dark type Pokemon, so that's not exactly fantastic for it. I'd say in the current state of the meta overall, I think this guy would be pretty risky to use. And then when it comes to the context of Silph Factions, which is a bring 6, pick 3, multiple round type format, if you were to pick Mega Gengar as your Mega, as soon as it's revealed what your moveset is, then you lose that mystery box factor and it becomes a lot more manageable. When it comes to Mega Gengar in like, GBL type format, I think it could be a bit more potent because that mystery box would be alive until the game's over and then you're not fighting that person for a couple more rounds, right? In the current state of the game, overall, I'd say Mega Gengar isn't the first Mega I'd think of to bring to a brawl, but I also think that Mega Gengar has a lot of future potential to consider as well once we do get Mega Gardevoir, which is huge, Mega Mewtwo Y, which is massive, and also Mega Lucario, which I guess can technically manage or threaten Gengar, but Gengar generally has a positive matchup against it as well. So in the current state of the game, where the big dog on campus is Gyarados, kind of risky using Gengar. In the future, when we get even scarier Megas to think about, I think Gengar stocks will steadily rise up with that. Then number 4 on this list, we have Mega Latios. Did you really think I'd leave the Mega Legendary Pokemon out of this top 5 list? Well, why is it so low? I mean, Mega Latios does have over 9,000 stat product. It's got Dragon Breath and Dragon Claw, and it's got a same type attack bonus to back it up. Well, the problem that Mega Latios has is despite its insane power, 2 of the bigger Megas are Dragon Breath users that aren't weak to Dragon Breath. And this guy here is a Dragon Breath user that is weak to Dragon Breath. In fact, with it being weak to Dragon Breath, it can't even tolerate Dialga in the 2-shield situation, which is something that even Mega Gengar can do. So despite Mega Latios looking so good and having all these advantages and having so much power, it does have a lot of hangups, especially in context to this theoretical meta, and also in context to the current Master League meta as well, because this thing can't tolerate Dialga in 2-shield situation. It's psychic type, so it's vulnerable to dark and ghost type attacks as well. So like it does a lot of things really, really well, but it's got so many hangups, and it's got so many hangups that are very present in the current meta, and then in this theoretical meta, those hangups are going to exist as well. Another thing working against Mega Latios here is that as we do get more Megas into this theoretical Mega Master League type pool, they generally will kind of like replace or just kind of edge out Mega Latios even more. Overall though, Mega Latios in the current context of the meta is still really powerful with the Stab Dragon Breath, with the over 9,000 stat product, comboed with the, Dragon Claws, and the big Luster Purge to think about as well. This thing can power through a lot of disadvantage matchups just based on all of that alone. But because you got to think about your ability to overcome your opponents and be a little bit more flexible, I think, Mega Gyarados completely blows this guy out of the water. Mega Charizard Y has a little bit more tech going on for it. When it comes to Mega Gengar, I'd say these two in the current meta are a little bit more on equal footing there. So yeah, I'd say don't hate this guy entirely, but definitely not the Mega I'm thinking about bringing to the league. Then when it comes to number 5 on this list, we have Mega freaking Venusaur. This might be a surprise to you guys. A little bit of surprise to me too. I didn't really consider Mega Venusaur until I was discussing this with the Game Press crew, and Jabaku highlighted to me that Mega Venusaur completely shuts down Zacian. Zacian wants absolutely nothing to do with this thing, and if you do want to get some farm action in against the Zacian, you could close out the fight in the red at nearly 100 energy for the next thing that comes in. So they won't get a whole lot of farm action in against the Mega Venusaur, and then you can just bust out Frenzy Plants and Sludge Bombs as you see fit until Mega Venusaur goes down. To add to that, Mega Venusaur is a really good answer to Mega Gyarados as well, because, big grass type Pokemon. So while this does all sound very impressive, like thrashing the heck out of Zacian, obviously you beat Togekiss, you got a good matchup against the King Gyarados itself, why is this number 5? Why is this less than Latios even? And the big problem that it has is against basically every other matchup, Venusaur ain't looking so good. Like all the dragon type Pokemon, it's not going to go so well for Mega Venusaur, right? Even though it is a Mega Pokemon, even though it's pretty threatening, it's mostly a big scary threat for, Gyarados and Zacian and Togekiss. Outside of that, it's a little bit of a clown, really risky to bring. So much so that when it comes to the Silph Factions type format, bring 6, pick 3, Unless they allow people to bring multiple Mega Pokemon, I don't think it'd be a really good idea to bring this thing. But if they do allow multiple Mega Pokemon, it could be good to bring, just for that kind of bench pressure and to clown them. But if you only get one Mega Pokemon to bring, I think you're limiting yourself with this because it's pretty easy to play around, pretty easy to avoid the disadvantages that you can give your opponent. And then they've got big old Gyarados, which even though this guy does beat Gyarados, if Gyarados gets like shield advantage or a big energy lead, it's still really threatening for Mega Venusaur. So just something to think about there. I think Mega Venusaur could really shine in a GBL style format though, because if Mega Gyarados comes out, and Mega Gyarados is the big daddy on campus, it's the big meta scary guy, and then we also still have Zacian, who's a big scary meta guy that can also manage Mega Gyarados kind of well. Well, those two Pokemon are absolutely afraid of Mega Venusaur, so I think in the context of GBL, I think Mega Venusaur could put in some really good work. But yeah, in a bring 6, pick 3 type format, unless you can bring multiple Megas, I don't think Mega Venusaur would be the Mega that you want to bring. So those are the top 5 Mega Evolutions for Master League PvP. Should Megas get added to GBL or Silph Factions sooner than we might be expecting because of the Mega update here. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoy this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Yeah, and if you're curious about which future Megas will be pretty big in Master League as well, Mega Gardevoir, Mega Lucario, Mega Mewtwo Y are like the big 3 that stand out in a pretty obvious way. Depending on where the meta's at, assuming they get added to the meta sooner rather than later to begin with, Mega Tyranitar and Mega Caesar also have a lot of potential to stand out too, so look alive.